I think about the resurrection. For me, I don't think it happened or existed. And that's because I kind of live and die by the rules of science. That's just what I'm going on. If I'm going to concretely believe something, it's I need the evidence for it.
Hey listeners, we just wrapped up season 4 of the podcast, and we're going to offer you a couple bonus episodes here, and they are main sessions from the Intentional Churches Conference 2024. And I want to give you a word of caution on this one session that you're about to see. It is an actual panel of non-Christians that we interviewed about what they think about Jesus, the Bible, church, and it is an incredibly powerful statement. And the word of caution we want to offer is don't try to go out and do this as a one-off. We are using this as a tool inside the Intentional Churches community to inspire our 99, our church members, to go get trained, equipped, and activated in relational evangelism. And so I think you'll gain some incredible insights and maybe some inspiration yourself. The thing we want to highlight for you is Conference 2025, and we're offering a special early bird rate right now. If you'll just remember to check out the show notes, there'll be a link there where you can get a coupon code and an offer to sign up for tickets for Intentional Churches Conference 2025.
So good to be here. We will introduce the panel in a minute. I just want to start off and read a couple of verses from the Bible to remind us of our calling. The first one comes from Matthew 9. It says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. What a beautiful calling that we have. You know, another verse I want to read, one of my favorites along these lines is 2 Corinthians 5:19 and 20. And it says, and God has committed us to the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. If you're here this afternoon and you would call yourself a Christian, you've put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ to be the forgiver and leader of your life, then the Bible says that you're God's ambassador. You're his representative. And the question that I'd like to pose this afternoon is, what kind of ambassadors are we? I mean, how effective are we? Do we shrink back and hide and say, oh, I can't do that? Or are we in the opposite extreme and view people as projects and come across judgmental and borderline obnoxious, and so doing push people away? How do we strike that balance of being effective in engaging in spiritual conversations with people who are not like us? And so we thought, what better way to learn about that process than to invite up on this stage, in this church, people who would not call themselves Christ followers, and ask them how they would like to be approached. And so I'm so proud to introduce to you 4 people who fit that category and are brave enough to come up here on this stage and share their stories with you. We're going to ask them questions about what they do or do not believe and get some coaching from them. So I'm sure you're probably all a little nervous, so let's give them a warm welcome and thank them for coming. That's great. So we're just going to dive right in. And Chandler, I'm going to start with you on the end there. And I just want you to kind of tell your stories, introduce yourselves, who you are, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and we'll just go right down the line. Okay, Chandler?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chandler. I'm a 27-year-old Amazon delivery associate. I work 2 jobs, so I don't have a lot of spare time on my hands. I love to spend time with my dog. His name is Princeton, in my spare time. And I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. All right. Go Florida.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Abby. I'm 28 years old, originally from Connecticut. I've been living in Orlando for 5 or 6 years now. I'm an account manager here. I do a lot of work with Disney and Universal, and in my spare time, I like to cook, read, go to the beach, spend time outside.
That's great. Yes. Vanessa, did you hear that she said she likes to cook?
I know. What are you cooking for us?
Making everyone veggie burgers tonight.
Never mind.
Okay. Mark.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark. Excited to be here. Definitely a little nervous, but I'm 28. I'm a nursing student. I also work in the hospital. In my free time, I like to study Spanish, go to the park, and feel nature, and also work out. And a big thing for me is my dream is to be a humanitarian aid worker. I've done some missions in the past, and that's where my heart is at, and that's what I want to get into when I get my license. So.
Thanks. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Mark has been working on doing some handstands. I'm not going to ask him to do it on the stage, but he did it behind the stage, and he can do it.
It's true, yes.
Vanessa.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Vanessa. I'm 29, the oldest on the stage. I am from Newport News, Virginia. I moved to Orlando about 1.5 years ago for work. I was recently laid off, but worked at Holiday Inn Club Vacations as a brand manager. And I like to spend time with my friends and eat good food. So
That's great. Thank you, Vanessa. And I caught that you said she's in between jobs, so I can vouch for her. She would be a good hire. So thank you all for being here. So I'm going to ask them a series of questions so that we can get a baseline understanding of where they're coming from when it comes to Christianity. And then halfway through, we'll turn the corner and ask about their personal experiences, engaging in spiritual conversation, going to church, that kind of thing. So first question, one of my favorite questions to ask people is, where are you on the Christianity scale? And the scale goes from 1 to 10. So you pick a number between 1 and 10. 10 represents someone who is the most devout Christian you know, like a Mother Teresa, Billy Graham. And a 0 or a 1 would be somebody who is skeptical or cynical toward Christianity, or maybe an atheist. And a 5 would be the place where you would cross the line of faith and say, I do want to be a follower of Christ. I want to receive him into my life. And so the question is, where are you on that Christianity scale? Chandler, I'll start with you and we'll go right down the line.
Yeah, so I would put myself at a 1. Christianity, religion in general, was not a big conversation in my household growing up, and generally was not a big part of my life. So for me, 1 out of 10.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I would say that I'm a 2 on the Christianity scale. I'm a bit skeptical about everything that is written in the Bible, but I'm passionate about what it teaches about being a good person, serving your community, things like that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a 3. I feel like my answers are going to be the same a lot of times, is that I think anything is possible, but for me to subscribe to a specific idea, such as Christianity, I usually need some sort of scientific proof or a lot more proof that's been presented to me.
Yeah. And why would you say you're a 3? Like that seems like neutral, maybe?
Yeah, I guess because it's always like an ongoing process, I think, with spirituality and religion for a lot of people. So that's kind of where I'm at, is exploring different ideas.
Yeah. That's great. Mark, thanks. Vanessa.
I'm going to give myself a 4.8. I am right there, right around the line, and know exactly what needs to be done. I just haven't made that step yet.
Yeah. Good. We'll hear more about your story too, and why you're at that 4.8, and why you chose that number. That's great. All right, so then let's just start in. I'd like to talk to you guys about, or ask you about what you believe about God. Do you believe that God exists? Do you believe he is the creator? You know, some people say there is no God. Christians would say that God exists. He's our creator, and he's a loving God. He's a holy God. In fact, in Isaiah 40:28, it says, do you not know, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. That's in Isaiah. What do you guys think about God? Mark, why don't you start?
I forgot what I originally said, but I'll just try to go from the heart like we have been, is that my answer is like always the same. I feel like it could be possible there's a God, but for me to put certain attributes on him, like in many religions we do, I need more scientific proof or more ration for it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I try to live by the golden rule, treat others like you like to be treated. But as far as God and those ideas, I think about anything's possible.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Who else?
I would describe myself as a spiritual person. I believe in a God. I believe in a higher power. I'm just not sure if it's the God that is presented to us in the Bible.
Gotcha. Yeah. Good.
I do believe there is a God. I think I get a little confused when we talk about God and Jesus and who is who and when you should refer to what person. So I definitely believe, but the full understanding of who I'm talking to or about is not that clear.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So even though I wouldn't necessarily identify as a believer, I don't necessarily believe God exists. I do believe that the Word of God has helped and benefited a lot of people, and I think that I think it's a beneficial idea from my own personal opinion. So.
Okay. So it would be a good thing for you if there was a God, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Good. All right. So another question I want to ask you is, what do you guys think about the Bible? You know, and so, I mean, I'll give you a few views that people have. Some people would say, well, the Bible is a book of myths. It's not historically reliable. It's just a bunch of fables. Others would say, well, it's more than that. It's not just a book of fables. It's got some truth to it. There's some historical, events that have actually happened. And others would say, well, it's more than just a history book. It's a book of truth, and it speaks truth into our lives. It's a book of wisdom. But Christians would believe that this is a book that's God-inspired. It's God's instruction manual for his creations. In fact, it says here in 2 Corinthians 3:16, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. What would you guys say is your opinion of the Bible? Have you even read the Bible? Abby, I'll start with you.
I have not read the Bible cover to cover. I have spent some time in church, so I've heard many verses from the Bible, and I believe that it is intended to be somewhat of an instruction manual for Christians and others. However, I do not relate to that, nor do I believe that it is a book of myths. I think both of those are too definitive for me.
Yeah.
I do believe that the Bible is a book of wisdoms and truths to learn from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, stories to sort of seek the lessons from and put those teachings to work in your own life.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah, I'll go. When I think of the Bible, I think of a book of stories that can be used to guide you morally, and I think that can be very positive. I think one thing for me, and maybe a lot of, I'd say, non-believers, is there can be negatives from it. And I'm not accusing you guys of this, but I'd say there could be, say it's taken out of historical context, or it's interpreted in the wrong way, or you have someone just, I'll pull this little paragraph and use it for whatever idea I'm trying to spread. So I think there can be some danger in that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
I think that, kind of like Mark said, I think a lot of it is heavily based on interpretation, but I think there's a lot of good morals and values and ideas in the Bible, and I think it's helped a lot of people progress forward in life. So
Yeah.
I have not read the Bible
Yeah.
at all. So.
Okay. Not at all. And
Yeah, me neither.
you haven't either?
I should, though.
Okay.
Especially if you're criticizing or talking about it. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
That goes for anyone, yeah, including me.
Thanks for pointing that out so I didn't have to. All right. Vanessa.
I have tried to read the Bible. It is kind of difficult, like Romeo and Juliet. So I did get the Bible app, so I get quotes every morning at 7 a.m., but I have not yet actually read it. But I think that the Bible is kind of like what you said, Abby, kind of all about wisdom. I think of it as a story that is guided by your perspective and how you want to take it. You you have your situation or your story, and then God kind of leads you in a certain way or path, depending on what that story is.
Right, yeah.
So I just haven't read all the stories.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks very much. Good answers. Great. Thanks for being open. Another question I want to ask you about is, what do you think about Jesus Christ? You know, again, I'll give you like some options here. Some people would say Jesus never existed. He's a mythological character, did never walk the earth. Others would say, oh, of course he walked the earth. He was here. That's why we have our calendar as we do, you know. And some people would say, well, he's more than just a man that existed. He was a great teacher, and he spoke great wisdom. And then others would say he was more than just a teacher. He's a prophet. He spoke wisdom into the culture, and he changed the culture. And Christians would believe he's more than all of that. He is God in a human body. He is fully God and fully man, and he came here on a mission. In fact, it says in John 14:6, Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. What would you guys say who Jesus is?
I'll start. I don't want to catch anybody off guard, but for me, I would say never existed. As I've spoken about previously, I wouldn't say I know enough about the history of Jesus and God and resurrection to give a definitive answer, but based on my own beliefs, I would choose A.
Yeah. And then not to pressure you, but like, what is your belief based on? Like, how did you decide that?
I guess for me, it would be kind of like we spoke about earlier, based on history and, like we talked about, he would be, as far as we know, the first to be resurrected. So just based on my interpretation of reality.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Chandler. Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I'll go. When I think about Jesus, I don't believe he was God because I'm not Christian. But as far as him existing, I think that's definitely possible. And I haven't looked into it, but if someone showed me historical evidence of that, I'd be open to listen to it. And when I think about him, I think about stories. So it sounds like he was an altruistic person, had some great virtues to him, cared about people. And one thing that we were talking about earlier is I felt like if he was here today preaching his ideas, maybe society wouldn't like him that much. I think about healthcare or like wars or taking care of unprivileged people. So that's one thing I think about, and as a society, we could do better. So
Yeah, great observation. Yeah. Abby?
I would say that, again, I don't relate to the first option, that he never existed, he never walked the earth, but I also don't relate to that he's God reincarnate, or he's God in the flesh. I think both of those are too definitive for me. I would describe myself as a primary source type of person. Even though I'm taught something in a book, it's not necessarily something that I die hard believe in. So for me to say that Jesus was in fact here, I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure I can say. I don't know. I spent a lot of time in church, as I said, heard a lot about Jesus and who he's described to be in the Bible, but I still question that. Just like in history, we're told George Washington is the first president, but did he have wooden teeth? Did he look as he's depicted? Like, I think if Jesus did exist, he's probably not exactly as he was depicted in the Bible.
Good answer. Yeah. Vanessa?
I'm going to disagree with all of you guys. I do believe that he was reincarnated, and that's why we're all here now, and life started when he came back to life. But I can't tell you why or give you reasons or give you scientific evidence, but I guess that's just faith, and I'm going to stick beside Jesus or God or whoever it is, but I do believe that there was a reincarnation.
Yeah. And you believe that Jesus existed, he walked the earth. Actually that leads to my next question about the resurrection. Did Jesus die and rise from the dead? The Bible teaches that Christianity hinges on the resurrection, because the Bible says that if the resurrection did not happen, then we're the greatest of all fools. We've put our faith in something that is not, backed up by his resurrection, and that his resurrection proves that he was who he claimed to be. So my question for all of you would be, What do you think about the resurrection? I'll start with you, Chandler. And in fact, I found a verse that I'd love to read about this. 1 Corinthians 15 says, For what I received, I passed on to you as first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day according to the Scriptures. 1 Corinthians 15, 3 and 4. What do you think, Chandler?
So kind of what I touched base on earlier, I don't feel personally that I am familiar enough with the history to make my own determination on that. But kind of based on what I said earlier, I think that what I know about reality in the world, for me, I don't believe that he was resurrected.
Yeah. Because you're not even sure he actually existed.
Correct.
And that sounds like what you were saying earlier too. Like you know, if he didn't exist, then he probably didn't resurrect. And because you don't believe in the resurrection, you don't think he existed. You know, is it sort of like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Kind of complicated, but I'm following. What about the rest of you guys?
Yeah, I'll go. I think about the resurrection. For me, I don't think it happened or existed. And that's because I kind of live and die by the rules of science. That's just what I'm going on. If I'm going to concretely believe something, it's I need the evidence for it. So that's pretty much my belief. Yeah.
Yeah. And earlier when we were meeting, we met prior to this a few times. I was joking with you that you sound like Doubting Thomas, but you didn't know who Doubting Thomas was, right?
No idea.
But you're sort of like him. So
I'll look him up.
look him up.
Yes.
Well,
Hopefully it's good.
it is good. In the end, it turned out good.
A little worried.
I also find it a bit hard to believe and understand. However, I do think that it is important to people in the church and Christians that it did happen. It's sort of the whole basis of faith it seems a bit, crazy to us sitting up here,
Right.
or at least Mark, Chandler, and myself. It's hard to understand. It's hard to believe, but isn't that the whole basis of faith, that you just have to believe? You do believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Faith. Yeah. Right. Vanessa, did you answer yet?
Yeah,
No?
I have faith. I believe it happened, and I don't know why per se, but
Yeah.
I do.
And what is again, I'm not wanting to put you on the spot, but like, what is your reason? Why do you believe? What is the basis for that? Like, what?
I just feel like that was the crux of life.
Yeah.
Like, life started after that, right, guys? No, maybe not, but that's my interpretation
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's new life. Yeah. Dying and then rising again is new life. Yeah. That's good. Okay. Another question, and then we'll sort of turn the corner a little bit, but that I have for you is, what do you guys think happens after a person dies? Do you believe there's life after death? And, Christians believe that not only is there life after death, there's a place called heaven and a place called hell. Hell is a place that honors people who chose not to want to have a relationship with God, and heaven's a place where people go who want to have a relationship with God. So what do you guys think about life after death? Hebrews 9:27 says, just as people are destined to die once, and after that to face judgment, that there is life after death. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll start on this one. I think anything's possible, and I think as humans we wouldn't be able to know while we're alive here. And I think one option is that, I hope it's not true, but I think it could be like before you were born. It's just, there's no consciousness. The other idea, which I don't subscribe to, in heaven and hell, I don't really like it because I don't think it's a fair system, to me, honestly, but I think it is possible. I just would need more evidence, and there hasn't been enough provided to me to believe in that.
Yeah, good. Vanessa?
I believe that there is a heaven. I'm not sure about a hell, but I don't think it's as we all picture it or is described as. I don't know if there's pearly gates and all the fluffy stuff. Yeah. But I also am not sure about hell. Like, why would the devil, or why would we have these pits of hell where you just burn and die and live in misery? That doesn't seem right to me, but I do think that there is something that happens to you in your mind, your body, your spirit after you die.
Yeah. Abby.
I can relate to what Vanessa's saying a bit because I think it's hard to picture. As a young person, I thought a lot about the idea of eternity forever in heaven and what it would be like after you die to see God and what that would look like. And the idea of all of that is just a bit, again, hard for me to believe, hard for me to understand. However, so I'm not sure what to picture there.
Yeah.
But I do hope that there is something in the afterlife, maybe a peaceful state of mind. I'm not sure that you're reunited with your loved ones. I think that's a bit unrealistic as well. I think it could be like what Mark said. It's like before you were born, it's just nothing. But I also think that's a bit depressing to go through your whole life to think you die and it's just over. And so I'd like to think that there is peace in the afterlife.
Yes.
Like Vanessa said, I'm just not sure what that looks like, and I'm a bit skeptical.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for being so open. I agree. I think like that seems hopeless if that's all there is. So I hope there's something, right? You know? Chandler, what about you? Do you hope there's something?
So my answer is pretty similar to Mark's. I think he had a good idea with the kind of the same as before we were born, or no conscience there. I don't believe in the idea of heaven or hell. I think that they're too black and white, as I kind of mentioned earlier. I think there's a lot of gray areas when you're judging somebody. Kind of like she said also, I do think it would be depressing to think that we just, the lights go out. So I would like to hope maybe we're, reunited with our loved ones and, meet our old pets and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So.
Yes. All right. Okay, so here's one of my favorite questions to ask too. It's a scale question again. On a scale from 1 to 10, pick a number. And this is the confidence scale, okay? So, and whoever wants to go first can. But the question is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you that the answers that you just gave us about what you believe about God, about the Bible, about Jesus, about the resurrection, life after death, all these questions, how confident are you that what you answered is absolutely right? A 10 would be like, I am the essence of truth. You can come to me, I know it all. So I don't know if there's anybody like that. And then there's a 0, 1 would be like, I don't know what I'm talking about exactly. I'm not sure. And there is no wrong answer. And this isn't a judging kind of a question. I'm just curious, like, what's your confidence level?
I would say that I'm a 0 or a 1. I am definitely not an expert. These are my opinions. This is what I think. A lot of my answers were, I don't lean so much toward the definitives on either end.
Yeah.
These are just my opinions. If they're right, I don't know. Hopefully one day we'll find out.
Right. Well, I've noticed when I first met you, I think you were like a 2 or a 3, and now you've gone down. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I just... I don't know. I'm not qualified to be an expert on this. It's just what I think.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Mark, what about you?
I said 4, and because a lot of my answers, I was like, anything is possible. I just need more evidence. So, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's good. Vanessa?
I give myself a 3.8. I'm confidently not confident. I'm confident in my answers, but I don't know how correct or not they are.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying. You're saying I'm confident that what I said is true to what I'm thinking right now, but I'm not sure that those are right. So I love the way you said that. I haven't heard you say that before. I'm confidently unconfident, right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
I'll have to use that. That's good.
Yeah, I'm with Abby. I was at a 2, but I think I'll go with the 1 also.
Okay.
As I've mentioned, I don't know a whole lot about the history of religion and Christianity, and I think that we're, small pawns on this big earth, and there's a lot more to know and understand. So
Okay. Another scale question on a scale from 1 to 10. I call this the openness scale. How open are you to having these kinds of spiritual conversations like we're having right now? I mean, a 10 would be like, I'm open to this. This is comfortable. And again, there's some caveats here because you could say it depends on who you're having this conversation with. But let's say it's someone who's respectful and listening and being honoring to what your answers are, not coming across judgmental, but let's say it's that kind of a conversation. I'm just wondering, in general, how open are you to these spiritual conversations? 10 would be, yes, I would like to have these on a regular basis, or, I'm really not closed off to talking about spiritual things. A 1 or a 0 would be, I'm closed off. So where are you guys? Vanessa, where are you?
I'm going to give myself an 8. I am open to conversation. Of course, it depends on who it is and where and when. But generally speaking, I have no problems talking at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah, right now.
All right. Yeah. Mark?
Yeah. I'd say 10, and the caveat is being like an open conversation, just like Cindy and Gary have set up, and it's been great. Open and accepting. I think it's great to have these conversations, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, that's great.
I would say that I'm a 10 as well. I find having conversations like this to be fun. I think it's interesting to share my opinions and my perspectives, but to also hear the opinions and perspectives of others in a safe and respectful environment.
Yeah, very good. Chandler?
I give it an 8 as well. I think I referenced before that I would like to, get a better understanding of my own beliefs or lack thereof, and a better understanding of myself. So
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that maybe having a spiritual conversation could kind of push that along, and that's a good point as well. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Chandler. Very good. Yeah. All right. So another question I have is just sort of wanting to explore a little bit more about your personal experiences, like going to church, having spiritual conversations with Christians, that kind of thing. Let's talk about your experience going to church. That would be kind of interesting. Some of you have had church experience, some of you have not at all. But what has been your past experience attending or visiting church services, and why has that changed over the years? Because for most of you, I think it's changed. Chandler, I'll start with you.
Okay. I think I'm the lowest on the stage here. I've been to church a handful of times, all under the age of 10 or 8. And my recollection was a great experience. There was, good music and good people and fun activities, and
so great that you never went back again. In fact, we were joking with Chandler. He's been to church 5 times under the age of 8 or 10. And then the other day we were here on Sunday practicing, so that means 6, and today is 7. So
we got 2 hands up now.
2 hands. Yeah, way to go. That's great. All right, what about the rest of you? And, let's go with you, Abby, because you've been going to church for 16 years, right?
Yes, in contrast to Chandler. I grew up going to church with my family probably most, if not every Saturday night for 16 or 17 years. My experiences were good. I thought of it as a social experience. I saw my godmom and some of my friends. It gave me a good sense of community, a good sense of morals, and so it was a good experience for me growing up. I have not been to church since, probably since I moved to Florida, so back when I was 18, 19.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm a little bit selfish now. I like to sleep in on Sunday mornings.
Well, there are some churches that meet on Saturday night. Is that an option?
I don't know about that. that might be worse.
Okay. Mark, what about you?
Yeah. I grew up going to church as well on Sunday mornings. I think I didn't like when I was younger because we had like the wooden pews and I had to kneel and stuff like that. Not you guys have these nice seats here, but later on in life, I think it was more of there was a disconnect for me because I wasn't really getting my questions answered. So I think I kind of got away from it a little bit, and eventually I would just go on like Christmas. My mom would make me, so then I had to move down here, so I don't have to go anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Vanessa, tell us about your church experience.
It's kind of twofold. So I went to church with my friends all the time, Bible study. I would just kind of go and hang out with them, go to lock-ins, go to, friends' churches, never really my own church home. However, my grandma is very involved in the church. She is a church clerk. She reads the minutes. She does the attendance. She ushers. She has a parking spot with her name on it. So she is very involved. So I kind of get both ends of it. And the last time I went to church was in December. And, I was the trophy kid. And she wanted to show me off to everyone. And they were waiting for me at the end, and I was not ready to go yet. But it's
And what about now?
good.
Do you attend church now?
I do not attend church now. I watch a couple services on YouTube, or if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I might find something. But I have not been to. I don't have a church home here in Orlando.
Are you looking for one?
Maybe. I am on the search. I haven't found the right one, so.
We were joking. She wasn't sure she wanted to admit she was looking for a church because she didn't want a lot of you coming up afterwards recruiting her. So, but she is open to a job offer. But so we could probably work some kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
I would accept.
All right, great. So another question that I want to ask you guys is about your past experience engaging in spiritual conversations with Christians. And you've talked about some of your past experiences where maybe it hasn't gone quite so well. And Mark, I'm going to have you go first on this, but how have you been treated? How did that make you feel? Share some stories or some experiences.
Yeah, I wanted to say first off, I've had a lot of good experiences talking to Christians. I think one in college, I signed up late for my dorm room, so I got put into a dorm that it was all Christians, which I didn't know about, and that's fine. But I remember one day I was in there, I must have said something, and my friend realized I wasn't Christian, and he was looking at me very seriously in the eye, very intensely, just telling me I was going to go to hell if I didn't believe, and it was. Yeah, I know. And it was it was more of the one-way conversation. I couldn't say anything, so that was pretty uncomfortable, as you could imagine. Other times I was thinking when I was younger, it was a friend or family member. Maybe they heard I was trying to explore religion or spirituality, and they go, well, what do you mean you're Christian? And instead of hearing me out. So that kind of bothered me as well.
Sure, yeah. What about the rest of you?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
So my experiences have been good in certain scenarios. As Gary knows, I may or may not at times go with the flow and pretend like I may believe more than I do.
Just to kind of, avoid a conflict
just
or
to
an
kind
argument?
of avoid conflict or criticism. The conversations normally go pretty well until the point where they know that I'm not religious. So
Sure.
now if I fake it till I make it, it usually goes well all the way through.
Yeah. So a very interesting strategy. So if you're around Christians, you got to pretend like you believe, so you can just go, yeah.
Well, like I said, I play it by ear.
Play it by ear. Okay, it depends on the person. But then what has gone awry if you kind of disagree with the Christian? How do you feel about that?
Well, kind of like Mark said, it gets to a point where instead of trying to understand and come to a conclusion of what my beliefs are or why it is that way, it's more of the reasons why they shouldn't be that way.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Yeah. What about you? Yeah.
I would say that most of my experiences were not negative because I grew up very involved in the church. I feel like I wasn't questioned or approached a lot. I was a religious education teacher. I volunteered at Bible camp. I don't think anybody was looking at me as someone to approach and talk to.
Yeah.
However, I definitely felt pressure from members of my church community at times when I missed attending church for social events or school functions, things like that. So there was a feeling of pressure associated with that.
Yeah. And do you have anybody in your life that you know of that would call themselves a Christian that is actually engaged in spiritual conversations similar to what we're having right now, or no, not at all?
Nobody who's engaged me in a spiritual conversation. I would say I have some friends who I think would describe themselves as, we said, an 8, a 9, a 10 on the scale.
Yeah.
But from my perspective and from what I've learned and from my time in church, I would describe them as 8, 9s, or 10s.
Okay, I see. Okay, so
So their words maybe just don't hold that much weight with me just because they say that they are. I
Interesting.
don't necessarily see them and
Right.
their actions as that.
interesting. Yeah. All right, Vanessa, how about you? What has been your experience interacting with Christians and talking about spiritual things?
Most of my experiences have been where I just feel a little anxious or pressured or questioned in why I have not converted or why I am not a part of their church home or things
Sure.
of that nature. So not negative, but you know,
Sounds kind of negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
So they
So-
questioned me, and now I question myself.
So you're making me think of maybe another follow-up question, just to get into a little bit deeper as to how you would feel in those circumstances that you're describing and such. Like, what would be a one-word descriptor of your feeling as you think about this idea, this concept of interacting with Christians about spiritual things? Based on your past, what would be a one-word adjective or experience that summarizes your feeling in general?
From those who would, like I said, describe themselves as 8, 9s, or 10s, an adjective I would think would be intense.
Yeah.
Again, the sense of pressure associated with that, kind of like Mark said, when there's someone in your face who's so definitively saying these things to you that you don't necessarily agree with, it can be a bit intense and you can feel a bit pressured.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't have like a perfect adjective, but I would just say like closed off comes to mind.
Yeah. Closed off, not open. And you were saying anxious in some ways?
Yeah, I would feel anxious, or in some cases, I might feel like lost or confused because if I'm not coming up to you, then I don't really know what I want, and I might not be able to understand or really grasp what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
So I kind of leave the conversation with more questions than
Yeah.
you trying to help me in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Chandler, anything you want to add?
I would say vulnerable. I think for me, there's usually a lot of criticism involved, being that my beliefs are pretty different. So that would be my word, vulnerable.
That's good. Yeah, we were saying that earlier. I think all of you were talking about you feel like you're put in a vulnerable situation. It's not really a good feeling, in general. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and ask that question that when we were doing a sound check just a little while ago. I don't know how it came up exactly, but I was like, how are you feeling right now? Because we're talking about spiritual things, and are you feeling anxious and vulnerable and all these things? So share a little bit about what you guys were talking about when we did a sound check. Like, how are you feeling in this process that we were engaging in these kinds of spiritual conversations?
I said that I felt comfortable because I feel as though you've created a safe environment for us to speak about what we believe, but I've also felt a bit challenged. I'm very into personal growth and personal development, and that's what sort of intrigued me to do something like this, to explore my beliefs and to think deeply about what I truly believe, and it has done just that. Like I said, I did spend a lot of time in church. This is something that I do have some background with, so it's given me a lot of food for thought. It's made me critically think, and I've liked that.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that.
Good. What about the rest of you?
I felt very accepted. It's hard for me to use specific words, but it's been very welcoming, and it's been great with you and Cindy, and I think it's been an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
Would be a good description for me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's been comfortable. It's just because it's open and feels accepting, and I think that's kind of the key to have open conversations and talk about your spirituality openly, right?
Yeah. And Vanessa, what would you add? If we were to just take away the audience, and just have a conversation here, because the audience provides some anxiety too about how this is going to go. We're having everybody kind of eavesdrop on our conversation, so it's not really normal. But thanks for being such a polite audience. Yes, what would you add, Vanessa?
I would say I feel good. I feel normal. I don't know if this is exactly the question, but I had said that I told all my friends about this, and they were like, everything happens for a reason. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I was chosen. I don't know why we're all on this stage. But it was for a reason, and I'm just embracing it and kind of taking it in. So I feel good and comfortable and safe, and I see all of you guys, but I don't feel nervous or scared at all.
Yeah. And were you going to add something too along those lines about?
I believe that as well, that there's a reason that we are all here and we've been
Yeah.
chosen to be a part of this group.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like the audience is booing us or
Throwing
Not yet,
things.
not yet.
Tomatoes at us.
Just wait till after this, after the service. We'll talk about that. We got a Q&A, so we'll talk about that. Great question, though. We've become friends since I've come down here in Orlando. So, but I do want to ask you, Abby, you were saying that you feel challenged, which is kind of interesting to me that you said that, because I just want to ask you a follow-up question, because I don't think I've really come across, I don't feel like I've really challenged you in the sense of trying to debate you or something. Why is it that you feel challenged? What's going on?
Yeah, we definitely, and I think that's another reason why we all probably feel so comfortable. It's not like we're pitted against each other and we all have very different opinions and we're not really debating. We're just having an open conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like an internal challenge. Some of my thoughts are contradictory. And like I said, these questions, they're not just simple one-off answers. You do have to dig deep and
Sure.
think about your life experiences, your background, your opinions, your feelings, things you've experienced as an adult. Think critically about what you really believe. You
Yeah.
know, Vanessa said she believes in God. She's not sure about God and Jesus and like who's who. And you know, it's kind of hard. And to
Right.
think about these things as an adult and not just like a 16-year-old in church. It's been challenging.
Yeah.
I've gone home after our conversations and continued to think, what do I believe?
Right.
What do I, and everything I'm saying is my honest opinions, my answers,
Yeah.
Unfiltered, but definitely has given me a lot of food for thought and made me think about my experiences and my beliefs.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. It's so cool. All right, so here's, just have a few questions left. We'll wrap up soon. But this question that I want to ask, I think, is the crux of the entire interview. So it comes down, no pressure, but I've asked them really to take this question and turn and face you all and preach it, you know? Because the question that I'd like to ask you, since all of you are very open to talking about spiritual things, and you've had a positive experience here, you said, you know, on the scale from 1 to 10, openness, you're like 8, 9, or 10. How would you coach Christians? Like if you had a chance to speak to a bunch of church leaders, by the way, here they are. You know, what would you like to say to these church leaders and Christians about how you would like to be approached so that you would feel honored and safe and be able to be vulnerable and to be challenged, you know, to think about spiritual things like you haven't thought of before, maybe in a long time. So what words or what kinds of advice or coaching would you give to this group about how you would like to be approached? Yeah. So who'd like to go first? Abby?
Yeah, maybe I'll start. As I previously mentioned, I'm a 10 on the openness scale. I'm very open to having this conversation. As I previously said, I think it's fun to have this discussion. If I were to be approached, though, I would just say I would not want somebody to be pushy. I'm open. I just don't want anybody to be pushy. And another thing I think is important is trust. I think that trust needs to be earned and built, a friendship created or a bond created. I wouldn't feel super comfortable with a stranger approaching me.
Yeah.
And even if that trust is built and you approach me in a casual, not pushy way, and it's with someone that I trust, situational awareness is still important, picking up on social cues and another person's feelings and understanding when they're not reciprocating and they want you to stop, and again, not continuing to push and push and push,
Right.
understanding how that other person's feeling.
Yeah. Just in other words, like respecting you, respecting your boundaries or how much you want to engage and letting you investigate at your own pace, maybe.
And I think another thing that's important about building that trust and friendship with the person as well, and not just approaching a stranger, is that there's no incentive behind it. They're not doing it for their own ulterior motives.
Yeah.
I would want to know that the person is coming from a good place and that they care, and I would only know that if it's someone who has built a relationship with me,
Sure.
who has earned my trust.
Okay, great. Vanessa, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I think for me, the main thing is meeting me where I'm at. I may not be 100% where you're at, but just kind of understanding myself or my story and knowing how to interject yourself and whatever you may be trying to talk about or offer or, discuss. Just having that genuine understanding and a conversation, and let's just get to know each other first. And if it leads to God or the Bible or church, that's just where it leads to, but let's not start there.
Yeah. So start with the friendship, have trust, like you're talking about, and meet you where you're at, which is like to hear your story. What I hear you saying too, and tell me if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I almost hear you saying, don't answer questions I'm not asking,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
In a sense, because you're not knowing where I'm coming from.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Chandler?
My 2 words are understanding and empathy. For me, a big part of it is putting yourself in my shoes, understanding, where I've come from and what I've been through, and kind of working from there. So empathy is my big word.
Yeah, and how, Chandler, not to put you on the spot, but how would you define empathy? What does that mean to have someone who is showing empathy toward you? What does that make you feel?
Just understanding how I feel or somebody else feels.
Yeah, kind of putting themselves in your shoes. Yeah,
Definitely putting yourself in my shoes and like I said, understanding what I'm going through in my own personal life.
Right.
So where I'm at, kind of like Vanessa said. So
Hearing your story, I guess. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I said mutual respect and acceptance, really, because I think you need those to have a real, genuine conversation, especially around spirituality. It could become closed off real quick if emotions get involved or there's not that feel of acceptance, right? So one big thing I was saying was active listening. So like really hear that person, analyze what they're saying, and have that in your response instead of thinking what idea you're going to push at them after. So that two-way street on both sides.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, just a couple more questions. Thank you for that. I think that we're learning a lot from you as to what would make you feel honored in this process and keep you exploring and engaged, So that's really good. So sort of a follow-up question. It's really one of my all-time favorite questions to ask people, no matter where they're at in their spiritual journey. And that question goes like this. If you could ask God, assuming that he exists, any question, and you knew he would answer your question, like right now, what question would you like to ask God? So whoever wants to go first, what question would you ask God if you knew he would answer you?
Oh, I'll go first. Ever since I've been laid off, about a month and a half now, I feel like I'm going through a quarter-century crisis. So I'm just trying to figure out, who am I? Where do I belong? Am I supposed to be here in Florida? Am I supposed to be somewhere else? What is my job? What should I do? What is next for me? What's going to happen? Do I wait it out? Do I go get a regular job? Just all of these different things. So really, I guess that all goes down to what is my purpose? Why am I here?
Yeah. Wow, what a great question. I love that question. It's really good. Yeah. What about the rest of you?
My question is kind of similar. What is my purpose? What am I here for? I definitely feel very blessed in my life, and I think that my blessings are not necessarily a result of all the hard work that I've put in, but like I said, I'm spiritual. I believe in a higher power, and so maybe not as a way to say thank you for blessing me, but to know what my purpose is so that I can make an impact, so that I can do what was intended for me to do and be great, leave the world a better place than I found it. That would be, I think, the best thing I could do with my time here. So that is what I would like to know to speed up the process so I don't have to figure it out. And that's if I can't ask the winning lotto numbers.
I know.
Because that'd be nice too.
I was going to say, you almost forgot that earlier. That's what her first knee-jerk, should I just be honest? Her knee-jerk response to that question was, what's the lottery numbers? So we know where your heart is. Okay, so So what else? What are some other questions you have? What about you, Mark?
I think it's the same as theirs, and I think they summed it up really good. I think it's kind of like the age-old question, what's my purpose in life, or what should I be doing? So I think it'd be something along those lines.
Yeah. Okay. Chandler, you can't copy these guys.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't pick me last because I was going to steal the first two answers. But I kind of, the same concept. I've struggled a lot with even small things like hobbies and stuff like that. So I would definitely, what is specifically not so much the purpose of life in general, but what is my purpose in life specifically.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's great. All right, two questions to end with. They're both hypothetical questions, and then we'll wrap things up. So my first hypothetical question would be this. We've been sort of getting to know each other, just the five of us here, and we've been spending time talking about these spiritual questions. And even all of you have sort of a similar question for God. If I could just understand my purpose and understand what His reason for me being here would be. Let's say that hypothetically we as a group would say, let's meet again, and let's, instead of meeting here in front of everybody, let's meet at Panera Bread and have some coffee and desserts or drinks and stuff and talk, or meet somebody's home. How would you feel about that concept? And the reason I'm asking is that is a concept that we've seen Christians engage in, and that's to have these spiritual discovery groups where you meet on a regular basis, let's say once a month or every other week, and you meet in a casual environment with friends, and it's facilitated, like if I were to facilitate this kind of thing. How would you feel about us picking up our conversations where we've left off and having some time where we could explore these questions, take a look at what the Bible has to say, take other truth sources that are out there and compare that with what the Bible has to say, and just have these kinds of conversations? What would you think of that idea?
I would feel good about that. I would like that. I think, as we've said, how we want to be approached, we've built trust, we've built a friendship, we've all gotten to know each other, and so the foundation of that is strong now. And I think it would be a bit intimidating to go into a new group, maybe in a church setting, to have that conversation. But like you said, to meet over a drink or at Panera and continue these conversations in an environment that is casual. I think casual is a big thing, and that we feel comfortable in. 100%, I would do that.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? Yeah.
I would definitely do it again, and I think also just based on the bond. I would like to see how's med school going in a few months, and how did you get another job? How have things worked out? So I think beyond just meeting to talk about Jesus or God, just them in general.
Yeah, having some community and having some connection and caring about people. That's good.
Yeah.
Great answer. Chandler?
No, I agree. I would feel great about it. I think she made a good point. I think, you've gotten to know all of us and kind of get our stories like we've mentioned earlier. And as she mentioned before, I think you're kind of picking our brains a little bit. And I'm definitely doing more critical thinking than I would, having a regular conversation with somebody I don't know. So I would be very open to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think because it's more acceptance and exploring versus debate.
Yeah.
I think it's very good and refreshing and even healthy to talk about your spirituality and beliefs. So I would definitely be okay with it.
Okay. Surprise, it's not hypothetical. We're going to meet again. And
let's go.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. No, I don't live here, so, this is it, guys. No. This is an example of what not to do, okay? So, all right, last question. I'm a little nervous about asking this. I've not really asked this question to too many panels like this, but I'm going to ask it. And I kind of hinted at it, I think. I don't know if we really dove into this question, but it takes a little bit of an explanation, so I'm watching the clock. We're wrapping up soon, okay? But basically, we are all here at this conference. We're all church leaders. We're all believers in Christ. And we have this one phrase that we use. It's like, who's your one? And what that means is, as Christians, if you've found what you've been looking for, you have a relationship with God, then, like I read the verses earlier, you want to be able to share that with people. You don't want to hide that. You don't want to, keep it from people. You want to say, I found something. I found something that changed my life, and it can change yours, And so we say, like, everybody should have a one. Everybody should have one person that they're praying for on a regular basis that God has put on their heart. And they're saying, I'd like to maybe come alongside you and maybe offer some questions like this. And maybe that could be a way to give you some things to think about. So my question is, how would you feel? It's a tricky question. It's a hypothetical question, but how would you feel if you found out you were someone's one, It'd have to be somebody, of course, there's a lot of caveats here that's like, it's a friend, somebody that you trust, but you had that connection. And I'm going to start with you, Vanessa, because we've kind of talked about that you think there's someone who's in your life that's picked you as their one. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then the rest of you, I'll let you think about how you'd answer that.
Yeah, so I definitely think I don't know if it's the one, but at least right now, the one. So I just have a old coworker. We worked together. We became trauma buddies, I guess.
Because of the layoffs?
Yeah, because of the layoffs. She still works there. I do not. And she has just always been kind of encouraging. She is a little bit older than me, and kind of took me in as her little sister. She's been in corporate environments before, so she just kind of understood the struggle and what we go through. And she sends me all types of notes, via text message. She has an actual prayer board, and I thought she was just kind of making it up, but I went to her house and she literally has a board and she has sticky notes and she makes prayers for everyone, and she doesn't take the sticky note down until the prayer is solved. So when I saw my name up there, I was just like, oh my gosh, because people say they pray for you, but they just say that for the most time. So the fact that she actually kind of sticks to her word and she's just always there encouraging me, it feels good to have that one. I wouldn't want too many ones now. But every once in a while, having that person kind of giving you that encouragement, bringing up the Bible or Jesus or just, really kind of being there for you is helpful.
That's great. That's so good. In fact, how this came up, we were in a Zoom call with you, and while we were wrapping up the interview, she called you.
Yeah, she called me.
And we were like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, your one was calling you.
Yeah, that was God. Look at God.
Or you're her one. Yeah. So how would you guys all feel about that concept?
I think it's kind of funny you say you wouldn't want to be too many ones, because I think I'd like to be everyone's one, pray for me, guys. But I think
you just made a deal.
But I think when someone is praying for you, it's out of good intention, and it's not necessarily that they're calling you every time. I'm sure your friend doesn't do this to say I prayed for you last night and this morning and this afternoon. But to be in someone's thoughts and to have them looking out for you in a way or thinking good, wishing good upon you is honorable, and I would appreciate that.
And you said something I think is really key. You said relational intelligence or something along those lines of being aware, you're not calling them all the time. You're just being a normal friend.
Yeah, my godmom, I would say, I don't think I'm her one, but I know I'm always in her prayers. She's touching base with me to ask how I'm doing. I know she's genuinely interested in my well-being and thinking about me when she's in church, and I don't look at that and think that's weird. I look at that and think that's love. I appreciate that.
Sure. Chandler, how would you answer?
Yeah, I think I would feel, special. I think I would feel, like she said, honored. As long as it's coming from a good place, as long as it's not like that guy needs help kind of thing.
Right.
So that's
nobody wants to be somebody's project. And look down on, but it'd be someone who comes alongside you.
Definitely.
Says,
no,
hey,
it would be an honor. Definitely.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily my belief, but like I've mentioned, I think that it can be a beneficial thing, and I would be honored for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as Chandler. I think and it could be someone from any background or any religion if they're praying for you. I just think of it as they're thinking about you and sending good energy your way, really. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we're over, but I know you said like not a project either. Like
Right.
just out of the like what you feel in your heart, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, Mark, are you okay if I have you? You're my one. Is that okay?
Okay, the one. Yeah,
Okay, I can have
yeah, we
you.
can do that.
Okay, good.
Thought he had
All
to do
right.
the
My wife, please.
handstand.
Why Mark?
Yeah, no, what's the deal here, Gary?
I only have time for one. Okay, well, I guess we are going to meet again as a group. Listen, I want to thank you all. Let's all thank them for sharing.